which would be the bow, is the observation deck. It's beautiful. I mean, we're talking paneling and brass and copper and silver and a feeling. The lamps are 1924. Just a feeling that you can't recreate anywhere. I know that certain hotels have tried to do this, but this was built in 1924, and this is the way they made things in those days. We have a little look back at the life and times of Duran Duran on Backtraks. We'll also tell you about next week's show, which is an all request. I think most of you who have been fans of video or Duran Duran know that they were formed back in 1978 in Birmingham, England. The original members, Simon Le Bon, Nick Rhodes, John Taylor, Roger Taylor. The band now has 2 offshoots in Power Station and Arcadia. They've just released, of course, their Decades Best Of collection, which is quite impressive when you put all of their hit tracks together again. They're now working on a brand new album for 1990 with Warren Cucurullo and Steve Ferrone, new members of the band. Warren has played with them before. We're going to take you back quite a ways. You know how the band got named. You know that they were at the absolute forefront of the video generation, and in fact were responsible for influencing many bands later on who were chosen not only for the way they played or what they sang, but how they looked. So, let us salute Duran Duran on this edition of Backtracks. On board the Queen Mary.
You don't become a pop star if you don't like being looked at. You know, you have to take all that. And if they don't look at you, if you walk down the street and nobody looks at you, you go, what's going on? I don't like this. You know, I like being recognized. Sure, there are times, but there are times where I want to be alone. But I don't mind it. I have no problem dealing with it.
When we started playing the sort of music that we did, the sort of disco rock sort of crossover thing, we didn't know, well, we didn't even think about it, but we sort of thought, well, what market are we going to hit? Because like the disco kids are going to think we're like a rock and roll band, and the rock and roll kids are going to think they're disco, and disco sucks. And all of a sudden there was this whole sort of movement that sprung up around us, and it became very acceptable, and that was the start of the mode of music that was being played. And so it was really good for us. It was a very good springboard.
When me and Nick started Duran, it's funny because the musical instruments themselves were almost kind of secondary. We used to watch films of the Beatles and go to concerts and say, that's what we want to be pop stars. And then we used to give this a lot of thought and say we want to be pop stars for months and months and years, and then we kind of figured that we ought to learn to play an instrument. You know, it wasn't the other way around. You know, most people learn to play instruments as they're a kid, and that takes them into a band. It was like the egg before the chicken for us. You know, it was like a necessary evil to learn to play an instrument.
I don't think we think about using sex to sell us any more records anymore. I think the only time that would have ever happened was that video, and I guess we've kind of had that glamour tag that's stuck with us, and it's certainly something that you don't want to try and fight off. There doesn't seem any point in disengaging from it. But I mean, Skin Trade was actually a commentary on it, and I think it was really, a lot of people misconstrued it, and they just completely missed the point. I mean, it was saying that really, whatever you're doing, if you're in this kind of game, and anybody knows what you look like, whether it's you or me, then we're kind of all playing the same game in a way.
Would someone please explain the reason for this strange behavior in exploitation's name? We must be working for the skin trade.
In our first album was very much our ideas and influences of the time. Possibly there was some of Roxy Music and David Bowie, which we'd grown up with there, but from there we moved on, and that was sort of influences from 4 or 5 years back that we'd just slung together and put together for that first album. But the second album we wrote in sort of 6 weeks, recorded in another 6 weeks, and we wrote it all together as new songs. And that is why to us the new album is a lot stronger. It's very much the first proper Duran Duran album with our own identity on it.
In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Smell like a sound, I'm lost in a crowd, and I'm hungry like the wolf. Straddle the line, in discord and rhyme, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Mouth is alive, juices like wine, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
So many people keep saying this about videos, they're what's most important and what broke the band and what's done this and done that, and this is the new age of 1984. The thing is, I think it's a very powerful medium that you can use to your advantage to help the song become more three-dimensional. And also, obviously, as a promotional device, you can be in a lot of places in the world at one time, so that's great. But really, unless the song's good in the first place, and then the video is derived from the song, you're not really anywhere.
I actually think the whole video thing there is becoming a little bit leaden, a bit cliched. I mean, when we started doing it, it was really exciting, and you knew. I mean, we knew when, like, Save a Prayer and Hungry Like the Wolf came out, we knew we were doing something that was right at the forefront. And now, everybody's doing it. Kiss are doing it. Fleetwood Mac did it. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon, and now it's down to how much money you spend is the best video.
Which is sad.
Which is sad, and I think a lot of the creativity has gone out of it now. A lot of the real excitement, and now, I suppose we knew it at the time, but it's now another promotional tool, and that's all it is, and everybody has to do one.
Band has never preached. It would never get involved in politics. I can't stand musicians who put themselves up on a soapbox and say, direct people politically one way or another. I mean, the only thing we've ever preached is a sort of individual positivism. People who collectively say, I mean, times are hard all over the world, unemployment, blah, 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 and everybody says to us, how can you write about parties and good times? And I mean, it's just escapism, it's entertainment. We're honest in that respect. 400 years ago, we'd have probably all been court jesters,